Hi folks, Steven here. So, this is going to be yet another one of our Pokemon Go Community Day live recaps. So this weekend was Eevee Community Day, hence the shirt of course. And I guess this is the second time it's come around. I don't really remember the first that well, but we're definitely going to talk about that, as well as some other stuff that I have going on. But let me go ahead and boot up the presentation first. Alright, first order of business is always the weather. So let's see, here in Madison, Wisconsin, it was pretty okay over the weekend. Actually, you can tell the high temperatures both days were pretty normal. We had a high of 80 both times. So you had a low of 51 on Saturday, 53 on Sunday, so a little bit below normal on that one. But winds not too strong, a little stronger on Sunday, but otherwise pretty typical. No problems with precipitation or anything like that, so that worked out quite well. Now, what exactly did they have going on? Well, interestingly, they actually had they did this with some of the trade evolution Pokemon, like Porygon 2 and Magmortar and Electivire and stuff like that. Where they would have a secondary thing that you could get stuff on that wasn't required as part of the, you didn't have to buy the pass for. So this time they had a Mossy and a Glacial Lure that you could potentially earn there, which is kind of nice. But just generally speaking, you have a lot of the usual stuff. More Eevee appearing in the wild. Let's see, surprise snapshot encounters. Tickets available, of course. Incense duration, lure durations are both bonused or extended. And then we have 1/4 hatch distance, which I made very good use of. I think the last time this came up, I was not nearly as good about making sure I put stuff, eggs in incubators to take care of that. But this time I really did get a lot of eggs hatched, which was very nice. Now this is interesting. This is the event ticket. They've obviously been doing this for a while, and even though it's a 2-day event, it's still only $1, which is very nice of them. Let's see. Talk about maybe why it is a 2-day event, but in any case, what you choose to be. Not sure exactly. I almost would swear that's an Iron Giant reference, because I think that's the phrase that gets used in that movie, which is kind of interesting. But yeah. And this is what you could buy in the store. First of all, they have the Ultra Ball pack freebie for 30 Ultra Balls that they usually put out for Community Day. Have an event box for 1 coin. You get a bunch of variety of things, including a remote raid pass. We'll definitely be talking about raids this time around. And the Community Day box, of course, is also there. Beefed it up with 50 Ultra Balls, some TMs, and a couple incense for $12.80. Not sure how they get that number. Alright, so this was a 2-day event, and I did do different things on both days. So day 1, I went to Pegasus Games. Sorry, I have a close-up of a cake there. I need to make sure I take an establishing shot of the store at some point. But of course, many of you who have been following me for a while will know this is the store where, well, when we didn't have a pandemic, I would run a Pokemon League. Since in the last month or so, they've opened up their open gaming area on Saturdays, and I've been going there for that. Not too far from Pegasus, I did want to show some of the stuff that's around there. It's part of this plaza, which is part of a larger block. It has a bunch of stores, and one thing, if you head down past the plaza to an office building, they have a place called Geeks Mania, which is a retro arcade type place, and they actually happened, along with Pegasus, each have a gym there, so I was able to take care of that. But the folks at the Open Gaming were nice, and they didn't seem... I did ask if I could play Pokemon Go in between turns, since there was a fair bit of downtime in the game. They seemed... And they were okay with that. I did, like I said, I did ask and tried not to slow down the game. But that will take us through a good portion of the challenge for this one, just so you know. In any case, let's talk about this. So as usual, since I bought the sort of ticket for the event, let's see, we get a series of challenges from Professor Willow. You can see on the left there he says, I don't even have 8 different outfits, commenting on the number of Eevee evolutions. Where this left goes, even to formal events. We'll certainly have to make sure the Pokemon Go folks keep that for keep true to that for continuity. So we'll definitely need to make sure of that. In any case, you notice it says 1 out of 5, not the usual 1 out of 4. So this is in part probably because it's 2-day, but also because of all the stuff in it. This is an extra long one. They've done the 5-step ones for like some of the Mega Evolution stuff, like when they did Charizard last year. They did that. But the tasks here are actually pretty similar to what you expect. 10 times power up your Pokemon using candy, catch 15 Eevee, and also make some nice throws. So that's all pretty standard. Alright, so speaking of Eevee, let's do the regular versus shiny comparison. Well, this is one you'll definitely notice the shiny. It's not quite an albino, off-white. Very slight hint of brown in there. I don't know, I kind of wish... Being from Wisconsin, I always kind of wish shiny Bouffalont was white just because of the legend of the white buffalo. We had one back in the 90s, just outside of a city called Janesville where I grew up. But going back to Eevee, I have to say, you definitely notice it. Not sure they were going for anything too particular. I mean, I believe it's supposed to be like a fox. So I'm not sure if there's a thing about a white fox. Is it a kitsune or something? That's something else entirely. I'm not sure. But in any case, that's what we have there. So definitely a noticeable shiny. Unfortunately, I will not be able to show you shinies of all the different evolutions. I didn't go quite that far with this one. Sorry about that. Alright, well let's head into our next step. Those weren't too difficult as tasks to complete. So let's see. I noticed here it says irregular DNA. I wish we had some more details on how it's irregular. Obviously that is sort of the in-universe explanation for why it can evolve into so many different things. But it would be nice to know how. I guess I don't know if they've ever gone into that in detail. But you can see our second set of tasks looks pretty similar, doesn't it? Or pretty familiar. 15 more Eevee. You got to transfer some Pokemon. You got to evolve some Eevee as well. So, and there you get more stuff for your troubles there. Now, I did try on day 1 to get a raid going with an Alkazam. This is a 3-star raid. I thought Alkazam fairly popular, fairly useful Pokemon in Pokemon Go, but couldn't really get anyone interested in it. It's kind of difficult unless something is super rare. I mean, I know folks are working for the Heracross. I was lucky enough to pick one up in the disastrous Go Fest from 2017, but couldn't interest anyone in Alkazam, kind of unfortunately. So let's go on to our next set of tasks here. So let's see. Vaporeon can melt away into water. I think that they really meant to say here was dissolve itself rather than melt, because that's kind of a strange saying. Because I looked up where that actually comes from. They use the word melt, which doesn't seem right to me. But in any case, you know what to expect here. We're going to get 3 great curveball throws. You got to transfer 10 Pokemon again, and then you got to evolve more Eevee. So that one is a little bit different. Obviously, if this were a 3-stage evolution line, normally you would say evolve 1 into the final stage. This one is a little bit different, but still pretty similar. And let's talk about those curveball throws. Yeah, so as you might guess, Eevee is a really difficult Pokemon to make that happen on. Part of the problem is it's just so short. The shorter Pokemon are almost always more difficult to get curveballs. It's very small, and it's not as close to the... like getting a curveball, how difficult it is based on the Pokemon's size, how far away it is when you have to catch it. Those are kind of the 2 main ones. And you may notice we're going through the Ultra Unlock to get so you can get your Dialga your Palkia, can potentially be shiny since this is the space one. And I'm not sure exactly what they were thinking with 7 nice curveball throws in a row. I'm sure this tripped up a lot of folks who just, like me, kind of said, nope, not happening. I don't need it that badly. It probably, if we had a community day with a bigger Pokemon, like with some of the stuff like Electabuzz and Magmar and stuff, who are relatively close there, you might have a shot at that. 7 in a row. I know I've done like 5 curveball throws into whatever size target I needed to in a row. I think I've done that in a row on a community. I think that was maybe how I unlocked Mew or something like that. But this one, yeah, a little too much for me, given the circumstance. So I hope this is a task we do not see again on this scale. I think 3, 4, maybe even 5 would have been fine. Let's see here. And this is where I got to on the first day. Let's see. So here's Professor Will remarking on how the time of day can affect Pokemon evolution. So this is actually referring to the fact that if you have an Eevee and you evolve it via happiness during the day, you get an Espeon. If it's during the night, you get an Umbreon. And of course, you know, whenever they have a tendency of using evolutions to introduce new game mechanics. In the case of Gen 2, Umbreon is a dark type, which is one of the 2 new types. I do wonder if they considered making a steel Eevee evolution there, but decided against it. In any case, the other thing in that game, though, of course, is there's a day-night cycle, which they made use of here. And of course, since your phone has a clock on it, they were able to bring that in here. So that was kind of neat. But this is where I left off. So this is kind of our extra task. It actually is honestly not that different. 15 more Eevee, 15 berries, and 2 Eevee. So this is where I got to on the first day. If I would, nothing against the board game group. If I obviously hadn't had to go there, I would have probably finished everything that day. It was kind of nice they give you an incubator. But let's go on to Day 2. So I wanted to go somewhere a little bit different that I hadn't been before. So this time I went to basically the north side of the UW campus. You may remember that during, sorry about that, but during the Go Fest last month, I went to State Street. Well, if you go a little ways west of that, there's the UW campus, and I decided to go to the north side of campus on the shores of Lake Mendota. Madison has 4 lakes. Mendota, I believe, is the largest. It's north of the most of the city versus Monona, which is south, and then there's, let's see, Wingra and Wabisa. Is that considered the 4th one? There are other smaller lakes, which is why I can't always remember. But in any case, out there on the left there, you can see Lake Mendota. Nice little picture with Eevee and a bunch of folks taking advantage of the very nice weather that we had this weekend. One thing I went down on that thing is that there is a bit of a nature trail that comes up fairly close against the lake there. You can see another little picture there. So that was a pretty nice thing. We'll be talking more about it. All right, but Day 2 is when I managed to get the remaining evolutions. I've gotten at least one version of all 8 now, which is really nice, and in fact I got a couple new ones. I think it's either Espeon or Umbreon, I think, was new. But I also got Glaceon. I got Leafeon before as just a regular capture, actually, and then I got a Sylveon. They made it very easy. In fact, they made it a little easier than they intended, apparently, according to some information, some tweets, I think, that Pokemon Go put out. So, but it was nice to finally be able to get those and scratch those off the list. And once you do complete those tasks there, you do get, let's see, researching Eevee. There are so many paths in life to choose from. I hope Eevee can inspire you to find the one that suits you best. I really like this one. They obviously, being that there is a whole, divergent evolution line with 8 possible outcomes in there, they had a lot of material to write stuff about, as opposed to some of the other ones where the writing has been a bit more plain. And I guess they have also had more, since there were 5 steps instead of the usual 4, they had more things to bring in there. But I'm glad they were able to put a little bit of a message in here, that life is full of possibilities, and use yours wisely, I guess, is another way of saying that. Now, unfortunately, I don't actually have the rewards at the end, but just like any other community day, the last step, the X out of X, is just a bunch of rewards you get. You don't have to complete additional tasks. However, as it turns out, I did manage to complete some other tasks during this community day. First off, there is the Ripple in Time one, which is funny, because it actually says, oh wow, is that an Eevee you've caught? Perfect timing. Not from this weekend's event. This is from another thing that I still have yet to complete, the Ripple in Time task set. So here you see I have to walk 10 kilometers with Eevee as your buddy to earn a candy. Now I'm not sure, I walked a lot yesterday, I can tell you that much. I don't know if that whole thing is 10 kilometers or if it's 5 kilometers each. I believe it's 2.5 kilometers on walking with Eevee to get a candy, and then involve Eevee into an Espeon during the day, and send gifts to friends. So I've got the middle one done. I was able to, during this challenge, evolve into an Espeon naturally, in addition to the one I got from all the tasks. So that was nice. So looking forward to getting this. Have to send a lot more gifts out and stuff like that. Also took care of some other stuff, of course. I managed to fight Leader Cliff in there. He gets very angry when you beat him. He was hanging out for some reason by the UW Memorial Union, I believe it is, right on the lakefront, so couldn't have him taking up space there. And of course, I mentioned raids earlier. Well, I didn't get that Alkazam, but I did get to participate in a couple of Palkia raids. I won both of them and actually did catch one of them. Now, again, it's not shiny, unfortunately. Simply because I don't think I'll ever complete that task. Certainly not by the time it's done. Let's see. And I guess appropriately enough, this was a challenge or an achievement or whatever they're called. I got the gold level. I believe that's called the scientist one. I think evolve 200 Pokemon. So I'm on the gold level of that. I think that's fairly appropriate for this challenge, if I do say so myself. Let's see. All right. Well, like I said, got to visit a lot of places. I have some ideas for where I'm going to go in the future. I'm going to try and I'll eventually come back. You may remember that last year I went to the Camp Randall Stadium area of the UW campus, and this time it was a different area. I probably will hold off on going to other parts of campus. There's still a fair bit of it I could show you until we get to sometime in the future. But we'll probably be back there again sometime next year or whatever. In any case, I do want to show off some of the notable stops and gyms that I hit mainly yesterday. First off, there is the Vel Phillips Memorial. Vel Phillips, if you don't know, she was a civil rights activist here in Wisconsin and actually was our Secretary of State for a number of years. She passed away a few years ago at the ripe age of 95, so she had a good life there. But you can see the little megaphone there and stuff like that. So I'm guessing that has been put up, since her passing, so that must be somewhat of a newer stop in there. Also along the lakeshore, I found the Lifeguard Memorial. So let's see, this is a testament. I couldn't quite make out the name. Unfortunately, it wasn't named after it. It references a person, but not necessarily. Unfortunately, the name of the stop doesn't have it in there. But it does have. There was a lifeguard who gave their own life saving someone else from drowning, and greatly appreciated, of course. The third one, I'd be kind of remiss if I didn't have one like this in there. This is On the Air. So this is a little plaque that talks about some of the early attempts at campus radio that would eventually become the public radio station here in Madison, WHA, which also has a TV counterpart on PBS. So that was another one I wanted to point out. But there were, as you can imagine, being on a college campus, there was a lot of stuff. There were some things that didn't have their own stops I still wanted to point out. So there's a couple here. Let's see, this is the Wheelhouse on the left. This is something I found in the Student Union building that I was in. And in the basement here, they have basically like a creative arts space that you can use, that you can reserve and stuff like that, which I found very interesting. Let's see, and then over on the right, you see North Hall. So this is more of a trivia thing than anything else, but this is, according to the plaque at least, the first building built as part of the UW campus. At least that's still standing anyway. But you can sort of see that there. There's also sort of other stuff that I passed by, like the Historical Society, a bunch of residence halls. Let's see, so obviously a bunch of some boat-related stuff, things of that nature. So definitely a good place to visit, especially if you can still get here during the summer. Obviously, since the summer school is out, so there aren't too many students on campus. But yeah. Okay, overall thoughts on this extra large community. I can only assume that was done in part because, of course, they wanted people to be able to evolve their Eevee at night, so they could get an Umbreon. And if it's only a one-day, 6-hour event, you can't quite do that, can you? But in any case, 2 days was nice. It certainly freed up my schedule a fair bit and made me have to worry less about what things I would go to. Eevee curveballs are hard. Definitely, being such a short Pokemon, you know. I mean, sometimes with this I'll try on a different Pokemon to get the curveball in there just because it's easier on one of the few Pokemon that's not part of the community. This is definitely one of those, but like I said, I don't know really what they were thinking with 7 nice curveballs in a row. I mean, there are Pokemon I'm sure I could do it with if I had I considered trying it on some of the Palkia since it's such a large target to get it in there, but in the end I kind of decided against it. Let's see. And let's talk about the topic du jour in Pokemon Go, which is the removal, at least in the United States and a few other places, of the larger spin radius. This means you didn't have to be as close to a stop or a gym in order to interact with it, and they took that away. You know, it is a first world problem, but I do also appreciate how it's helped folks with disabilities and stuff like that be more active in the game and things. And to be honest, the location stuff can be a little finicky on the phone and stuff like that, and this gives you a little bit of a buffer in that regard. And I really think that if they don't bring back the full distance, they should at least make it like a halfway in between, because I think it really did help my enjoyment of the game. I don't think it's something that it wasn't such a large radius that I think people really gamed it that much. I think it was just kind of a happy accident. They should keep going around. On day 2, I did take the bus to and from campus/downtown Madison, and yeah, it was pretty easy to notice that there were some stops there. I hadn't spun them before. Therefore I got the big experience bonus, of course, that they're doing right now for new stops you spin. But I could kind of tell, yeah, this is probably one that I'd have an easier time spinning if we had that slightly larger radius. Other piece of advice, need to make sure, especially in the summer. I mean, I did mask up as appropriate. The public transit expects you to wear a mask, and I did that, as do a lot of the buildings and some of the businesses and stuff. I always observe that. And I also put on sunscreen and a hat just to protect myself from the sun somewhat. But I really should have brought a water bottle with me, just because about partway through I was getting a fair bit dehydrated. So be careful out there. Alright, well, we have a comment on one of my recent videos. So you may remember this was kind of a double-header weekend in terms of videos, if you count this live stream, and you also count on Friday. I put out a video called Unboxing the Together with the Wind Single. Yeah, that is a word, sort of. So, if you haven't seen this is a video where I went in and I unboxed the I had ordered off of eBay the rare cassette version of the single for Together with the Wind. This is the ending theme song of the first Pokemon movie in Japan, U2 Strikes Back. So, this is kind of just an interesting little bit of trivia. As far as I know, it is the only Japanese official Pokemon music cassette. There wasn't one. I mean, cassettes were kind of dying out by '98. Regardless of what territory you were in. But this is the only Japanese one I know of. But there wasn't one for, like, aimed to be a Pokemon Master, which is a bit surprising, I guess. So one of our frequent commenters, Lapras GD, said, I did some extended research back in, believes 2015, 2016, not quite sure about the topic, and got a copy on Yahoo Auctions. As far as this person knows, that it is the only Japanese Pokemon cassette release. I replied, of course, that wouldn't surprise me. Of course, they could always do a promotional release. And does Cassette Store Day exist in Japan? Well, no, it doesn't, and I don't want to get into that whole topic there. Let's just say some things went kind of wrong last year with Cassette Store Day, and it doesn't really exist anywhere and is being rebranded and done anew. So, no, it doesn't exist in Japan. So, there's your answer there. Let's see. So, that was a neat thing there. Speaking of music-related topics, of course, a week or two ago we got the Red EP. So this is part of the Pokemon 25 celebration, and there's going to be a corresponding Blue EP that has some remixes that's supposed to be coming out, if I remember correctly, later this month. But it includes one song you've probably already seen, which is the Take It Home by Mabel, and some new songs, Wonderful by Sin, I think is how it's pronounced, and then Got 'Em by Vince Staples. So these are all pretty interesting. Take It Home, I think we've talked about a little bit before during the Go Fest, since I think it had just come out that weekend. One of the things I'm speculating on is if any of this is going to be used for Secrets of the Jungle. I've purposely avoided too many spoilers. You know, there's more of that now that the Japanese Blu-ray is out. We're still waiting for word on when this comes out here, but I am curious to know if any of these songs that have been done for this initiative are going to be part of that movie. Because I do kind of wonder, like, Got 'Em by Vince Staples seems like it could be associated with whatever the antagonist in that movie is, and stuff like that. But we'll kind of have to see. I could see Wonderful being an insert song. I do appreciate it. I think Got 'Em, by the way, is perhaps the first one lyrically in this series that has an explicit Pokemon reference, not counting the gold and silver sample in the Only Wanna Be With You cover. But this has some Pokemon name references, and I think they makes a sly sort of reference to Team Rocket earlier in the song, that if your ears blink, you'll miss it. But yeah, really interested. There are supposed to be a couple other people involved in this that we haven't heard from yet, and I'm very curious if they will be using these songs there. Also, some other stuff. I think, speaking of music, let's see. I know that the Pokemon Go folks posted the vocal version of the Nighttime song on their YouTube channel, and as I kind of expected, I'm pretty sure that some of the anime folks were working on that. It looks like Ed Goldfarb did the writing. I'm not sure exactly what they were going for, to be honest. I don't know if they're going... It sounds almost kind of... Maybe I'm using this genre wrong. Let me know if I am. New Age? Or something like that, in terms of like the feel they're going for. So, a lot of stuff going on there. Alright, well, let's talk about some updates on the Pokecasters Network. Now, first of all, at the end of last month, I did put out that new episode covering Pokemon Coliseum for the GameCube. But more recently, there's been a couple new episodes on the Pokecasters Network shows. There's Poke Science, Viva La Eeveelution Part 2. Well, they certainly timed that one well, didn't they? Then we have Critical Hitmonlee, Episode 44, Waking the Demon, and Welcome to the World of Pokemon, Episode 55, Golduck. Yes, the oft-forgotten evolution. I'd say in some ways even more than Raichu. Pikachu usually has a rivalry with whatever Raichu is in the episode. Golduck, who cares? Psyduck's way more marketable. Alright, well that is the last slide. That should cover a lot. As far as things I'm working on, obviously our next discussion that Ann and I are going to do, speaking of Ann, is going to be the original Pokemon Ranger for the Nintendo DS. I'm hoping to get that done either this weekend or next weekend. Need to hear back from her soon. She did, by the way. It is out on my podcast feed, but I certainly encourage you to support her. She has a Patreon, and she did just put out the Pokemon Puzzle Challenge episode on there. So I strongly suggest you actually take a listen to that. If you're, or I should say, you should just, support her on there. Let's see. And that kind of covers what's coming up there. So let us know. Do you have any comments on Eevee Community Day? Are you curious what they're doing in the future? Any comments on the Red EP or any of the other Pokemon 25 songs? Do you think those are going to be in the dub of Secrets of the Jungle? That's something I'd be really interested to know. But whatever it is, thanks for watching, and see you around.